The evidence for the validity of the resurrection was really significant in my own story. I thought the idea of resurrection was crazy until I was challenged to look into it, and then I couldn't believe what I found. There's so much that I could say about this, but let me hone in on just one thought. Even if you have never opened a Bible, I hope you'll open the Bible and turn to 1 Corinthians 15. The first 8 verses or so of that chapter, absolutely incredible. It's an early creed that scholars believe predates the letter itself. And it gives a list of all of the people that Jesus appeared to after he clearly had been killed. He appeared to them physically, miraculously. That's what they claimed. Not only to his friends, but even to his enemies in different regions over a 7-week span. It says at one point he appeared to more than 500 at once, and then it says most of whom are still living, as if to say, go out and ask them yourself. Here's the most incredible part. Scholars, not just Christian scholars, but even those adamantly against Christianity, have come to the conclusion that this creed dates back not only prior to the letter, but all the way back to almost immediately after Jesus' crucifixion. Many say within months. We also know that it takes at least 2 to 3 generations for any significant legendary development or exaggeration to work its way into a historical story. 100 years ago, a lot of people would have said, well, the resurrection is just legendary development. One generation told the next a story that was normal, and that generation told the next, and before we knew it, we had a crazy story. That has been completely undermined because of this creed in 1 Corinthians 15, because of which we can know that almost immediately after Jesus' crucifixion, all of these people were utterly convinced that they had spent time with this man who clearly had been crucified. They were so convinced of it that they were willing to give their lives for it. So here's the question for every one of us. What explains that gap? What explains the gap between what should have been the movement-ending death of Jesus and then the absolute eruption of Christianity? The resurrection of Jesus explains that historical gap. If that's not your answer, that's okay, but criticism without alternative is empty. So what is the alternative? And I think that if you take the resurrection out of that gap, you are left with a gaping hole, and that despite 2,000 years of historical scholarship and speculation, you would have absolutely no explanation for the greatest movement of all time. Yes, miracles are to be approached with caution, but when the evidence is this significant, I think we need to ask the question, is it really our minds that keep us from accepting the resurrection of Jesus, or could it be that it's more a question of the heart?